Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we are going to be looking at the cybersecurity landscape. And oh boy, are things getting interesting.
It's definitely a very dynamic field. There's always something new happening every day, it seems.
You know it. Our source for today's deep dive is that Cybersecurity HQ News Roundup, the one from November 20th, 2024. And let me tell you, we've got AI playing both the hero and the villain.
Oh,
Yeah. And we've got ancient vulnerabilities that just refuse to die. And there's so much funding being thrown around, it'll make your head spin.
sounds like fun.
Oh, and somebody figured out how to steal money using NFC, like straight out of a spy movie.
I am very curious about that.
Well, we'll get there, I promise. So first up, let's talk about AI being this double-edged sword. On the one hand, you got this startup called Twine, and they just got $12 million to create AI digital employees.
Wow.
Yeah, basically they're saying they can solve the cybersecurity skill shortage by having these tireless AI bots working alongside human experts.
That's interesting.
So, like, are you telling me that these AI digital employees could be like the security version of having a personal assistant who never sleeps, never misses a detail?
Yeah, that's sort of the idea. Imagine if AI was handling all those repetitive but crucial tasks, like triaging alerts and analyzing logs,
Hmm.
then human analysts could focus on the more complex stuff.
That could be a real game changer,
Yeah.
especially for smaller companies that maybe can't afford a big security team.
Right. It wouldn't be about replacing humans entirely, just augmenting their capabilities. It's like
Right.
you're giving every security analyst a superpower.
Okay, I like it. But hold on, there's a flip side to all this AI, right? Because Search Security is now adding a deepfake detection tool to their enterprise browser. They say it has like a 98% accuracy rate.
Yeah, that's a big one. The tool can identify AI-generated face in real time, which has huge implications, for everything, from video calls to even random WhatsApp messages you get. It could be a real weapon against disinformation campaigns and those social engineering attacks.
So wait, let me get this straight. So they found a new NFC attack called Ghost Tap, and this could let someone just walk past me and drain my bank account, just like that.
It's not quite that simple, but it does exploit the NFC technology in our phones that we use for contactless payments.
Like Apple Pay and Google Pay.
Exactly. It shows how even tech that seems really secure can have unexpected weaknesses.
Okay, now I'm getting nervous. So we've got AI that can protect us. AI that can be used against us. It feels like we're stepping into uncharted territory here. How do we even begin to navigate this new world?
It's all about finding the right balance. We need to embrace the potential of AI, but also be really aware of its limitations and potential risks. Robust testing ethical frameworks and just constant vigilance are key.
So you're saying we can't just blindly trust AI to solve all our cybersecurity problems?
Exactly. Humans still need to be in the loop making the big decisions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it brings me to my next point. While we're all busy worrying about AI taking over the world, it seems like those good old-fashioned vulnerabilities are still hanging around, causing all sorts of trouble.
That's true. The Cybersecurity HQ Roundup mentions that D-Link had to issue a warning about a really critical vulnerability in 6 of their older router models. But the real problem is that these routers are end of life, which
Yeah.
means they're not getting any more security patches.
Ugh, this D-Link situation is exactly why you always tell me to update my router. But seriously, why do companies even sell these devices when they know they're going to become a security risk down the line?
Well, it's complicated. Sometimes it's about planned obsolescence, trying to get people to buy newer models.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And other times it's just a lack of incentive to keep supporting older devices. But the bottom line is that if you're using outdated technology, you're a prime target for hackers.
So it's not just about those D-Link routers then.
No, it's not. They also found some decades-old vulnerabilities in Ubuntu's Need Air Start package, which has been around since 2014. And it comes standard with Ubuntu Server. So even software that we think is totally safe can be a ticking time bomb.
Wow, okay. It just highlights the need for constant vigilance, I guess, and always patching our systems, even for the things we think are pretty mundane.
Right. The threat landscape is always changing, and we have to change with it.
Speaking of changing, I can't help but notice all the money flying around in the cybersecurity world right now. Cyera, that data security firm, just raised $300 million in funding, which doubles their valuation to $3 billion.
It's crazy, right? And they also acquired Trail Security not too long ago for $162 million. Investors are really putting their money on Cyera's ability to secure data across a lot of different
And
environments.
then there's Enable. They acquired Edlumen, that cybersecurity platform, for over $200 million. And they're saying they want to use that to boost their security offerings and scale up their business. It's Pretty clear they see a lot of potential for profit there.
Yeah, it definitely seems like cybersecurity is no longer some niche market. It's a major industry now, attracting some serious investment and a lot of innovation.
So we've got AI vulnerabilities and now this funding frenzy. It feels like we're playing catch up on a whole bunch of different fronts. Is there like a connection between all of this?
Oh, absolutely. The rise of AI is creating new opportunities, but also new vulnerabilities, which
Hmm.
is driving investment in new solutions, but it's also showing that we need to address a lot of these legacy issues that just haven't gone away yet.
So where do you think all of this is headed? Will we see a bunch of new and innovative solutions, or will the market get dominated by just a few big companies which could stifle competition?
That's a good question. It's hard to say for sure because the landscape is changing so rapidly, but I think it's safe to say that cybersecurity is here to stay, and it's only going to get more important in the coming years.
I think that's a great point to end this part of the deep dive on. We've covered a lot of ground, from the rise of AI to these old vulnerabilities and the influx of all this funding. It's a complex and constantly changing landscape, but it's one that we all need to be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our look at the cybersecurity landscape, and in this part, we're going to go global.
Yeah, the Cybersecurity HQ Roundup talks about this worrying trend. They're calling this China-linked group Liminal Panda, and they've been targeting telecom companies in South Asia and Africa.
Telecoms, that sounds like a pretty big deal.
Oh, it is. We're talking critical infrastructure here.
Hmm.
And what's even more worrying is that they're not just using like those off-the-shelf hacking tools. Liminal Panda actually developed custom software. It seems they have a deep understanding of telecom protocols, and they're using that to their advantage.
So they're like playing in the big leagues now.
It seems that way. Their goal seems to be intelligence collection. So that could mean getting access to sensitive data and communications.
It sounds like something out of a spy movie. All cloak and dagger sneaking around stealing secrets.
The methods are sophisticated for sure, but the ways they're getting in can be surprisingly simple, like weak passwords on external DNS servers.
So you're telling me that even a small oversight like a weak password can have massive consequences.
Absolutely. It just goes to show that cybersecurity is a constant arms race. You always have to be one step ahead.
And speaking of unexpected vulnerabilities, remember that ghost tap attack we talked about earlier? It turns out that even simple technology like NFC can be exploited.
Right. It highlights the need for a multifaceted approach to security. You have to think about hardware, software, human behavior, and even those seemingly mundane technologies that could be weaponized.
It's like everything is a potential target.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about a company that seems to be doing things right. Microsoft, they seem to be taking this whole resilience thing very seriously.
Yeah, their Windows Resiliency Initiative is pretty ambitious. It's not just about patching holes. They're really rethinking the whole idea of system integrity.
Okay, tell me more.
Imagine being able to fix a computer that won't even boot up remotely through Windows Update. No more frantic on-site visits for the IT guys.
That would be amazing. Anyone who's ever had to deal with a crashed computer would love that.
It would save so much time and reduce downtime for organizations. And they're also moving towards using more user mode security tools, which is a smart way to minimize system crashes.
So it's like they're building in shock absorbers for the whole operating system.
Yeah, something like that. And let's not forget about those new security features like administrator protection and personal data encryption. They're really pushing the boundaries on user-centric security without giving up control.
It sounds like Microsoft is betting big on a future where security is built into the operating system from the ground up, not just added on as an afterthought.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and whether they can actually deliver on their promises of better resilience.
Now let's switch gears for a minute and talk about AI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's everywhere these days, and cybersecurity is no exception.
The Cybersecurity HQ Roundup has some interesting thoughts from experts about where AI is going in business. By 2025, we could see companies moving beyond just those pilot AI projects and deploying complex systems that use multiple AI models for automation.
So no more testing the waters. They're going all in on AI.
It seems that way. The big tech companies are already investing tons of money in the infrastructure to support these advanced AI systems.
It makes you wonder what kind of impact this will have on different industries and even individual jobs. Will AI be a force for good Or will it lead to job losses and disruption?
Yeah, that's a question we're thinking about as AI becomes more and more common in different sectors.
And speaking of AI in action, Accenture just unveiled its new AI-powered cybersecurity services.
They're even launching these cyber future centers, which will be powered by all these new technologies like quantum security and cyber physical security.
Cyber Future Centers. Now that sounds futuristic.
It's definitely ambitious. The
Yeah.
goal is to help organizations simplify their security operations while staying ahead of the curve.
So they're basically creating these hubs for innovation where experts can come together and come up with solutions for the toughest cybersecurity challenges.
That's the vision.
Now let's bring things a little closer to home. Remember that cyber attack on the Calgary Public Library back in October? It sounds like they're making good progress on the recovery.
It's great to hear that no data was compromised and they're slowly restoring their services.
That's good news. It shows that even after a big attack, it's possible to recover if you've got the right plan in place.
Their phased approach to reopening is a good example for other organizations. It prioritizes both security and keeping services running.
And it shows how important it is to have good backups and a solid recovery plan.
No system is perfect, so you have to be prepared for the worst-case scenario.
Now let's zoom back out and look at the cybersecurity market as a whole. There seems to be a lot of activity in terms of companies being bought and sold.
Yeah, Blue Mantis, a company that specializes in cloud and cybersecurity, just bought Collegio. They focus on Cisco-based technologies.
So they're basically joining forces to offer a more complete package.
Exactly. It lets Blue Mantis expand their offerings and start a new practice focused on collaboration and unified communications.
It seems like companies are realizing that working together and forming strategic partnerships is really important if you want to stay ahead in the cybersecurity game.
And speaking of staying ahead, Palo Alto Networks is making big moves too. They're pushing their platformization strategy, which seems to be working well for them.
Platformization, what's that?
Basically, it's all about combining all your security tools into one unified platform. This integrated approach is supposed to improve security, but also make things easier to manage and hopefully reduce costs.
So instead of having a bunch of different tools from different vendors, you have one platform that does it all.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's a trend we're seeing across the industry as companies try to simplify their security operations and get rid of unnecessary complexity.
It makes sense. It's like having a Swiss Army knife for cybersecurity instead of a whole toolbox. Now let's talk about a company that's making it easier for organizations to manage and analyze all their security data. Cribble Gary, they're a leader in data management platforms, and they just announced that their solutions are now available on the Microsoft Azure Marketplace.
That's a big win for Azure customers. It makes the onboarding process easier and lets them use their existing Microsoft Azure consumption commitment to buy things seamlessly.
So it's a win-win for both companies and their customers.
It looks that way. It shows how important cloud-based security solutions are becoming and how important it is to have smooth integration between different platforms.
And finally, let's wrap up with some news from the threat intelligence world. Cyera, a company that specializes in threat intelligence platforms, just appointed Jawahar Sivasankaran as their new president.
Sivasankaran has over 25 years of experience working at companies like Cisco Splunk and Appgate.
So he's like a cybersecurity veteran.
You could say that his expertise in go-to-market strategies and product innovation is going to be really valuable as Cyera tries to grow its business and offer even better products.
It seems like having the right leadership is crucial in an industry that's changing as quickly as this one.
Absolutely. And before we move on, I want to touch on another emerging trend in cybersecurity, low-code process automation. Nintex, a company known for its workflow and content automation solutions, just launched Nintex Apps. It's a low-code application builder.
Low code, so you don't need to know a lot about coding to use it.
Right. The idea is to empower business users and IT teams to streamline workflow automation without needing to know a lot of code.
It sounds like a good way to democratize technology and make it easier for more people to use.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of democratizing technology, Radware Ltd., a leading provider of cybersecurity solutions, just launched AI SOC Expert. It's a cloud security service that uses artificial intelligence to revolutionize how companies deal with DDoS attacks and application security threats.
AI SOC Expert, that sounds like it could be a game changer for security teams.
Yeah, they say it can streamline incident resolution by up to 95%, which is a huge improvement.
So instead of security professionals spending hours manually investigating and fixing incidents, this AI-powered service can do it much faster.
That's right. AI SOC Expert automates important tasks like attack detection, figuring out the root cause, and then fixing the problem. That frees up security professionals to focus on more strategic work.
It sounds like AI is finally living up to all the hype in the cybersecurity world.
It's a powerful tool for sure. But like any technology, there are downsides to think about. One concern is AI bias. If the data used to train an AI algorithm is biased, then the AI system might make biased decisions too.
That's a good point. We need to make sure that these AI systems are developed and used responsibly.
And another challenge is the potential for adversarial attacks. Bad actors could try to manipulate AI systems by feeding them carefully crafted inputs that are designed to trigger bad behavior.
So it's not a magic solution.
Yeah,
We still need to be careful and aware of the limitations of AI.
absolutely. Now, despite all the advancements in technology, we can't forget that human error is still a major factor in a lot of cyber attacks. Phishing scams, social engineering tactics, and weak passwords still work because they exploit human vulnerabilities.
So technology alone can't protect us. We need to be smart and security conscious ourselves.
Right. Security awareness training is really important for teaching employees about these threats and helping them make good security decisions.
And we can't forget about those simple things like using strong passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication, and being careful about what we click on.
Those little things can make a big difference in preventing cyber attacks.
It seems like cybersecurity is all about layers.
Yeah.
We need good technology, smart people, and a culture where everyone cares about security.
That's a great way to put it. And before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay, go ahead.
We've talked about a lot of things today, from the latest technologies to the threats we're facing and why being resilient is so important. But as we try to make sense of this complex and constantly changing world, there's one question that's more important than ever. What steps can you take to make sure that your organization, your data, and your own online presence are protected from these ever-changing threats?
That's a really good question. It's something we all need to be thinking about, both at work and in our personal lives.
Absolutely. And with that, let's move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up our discussion and share some more insights and takeaways from the Cybersecurity HQ News Roundup.
All right, we are back for the final part of our cybersecurity deep dive. It's been quite a ride so far, huh? All that AI, the vulnerabilities, and all the talk about all that money pouring into the industry.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, and I think one of the key takeaways is just how widespread these cybersecurity risks really are.
It's not just about protecting like big government systems or corporations anymore, right? It
Yeah.
feels like anyone could be a target.
Exactly. We saw examples of public libraries struggling to recover from attacks, and people having money stolen from their bank accounts just by walking by someone with a phone. I mean, no one is immune these days.
And it's not just about who is being targeted.
Yeah.
It's how they're doing it. The ways these attacks are happening are just getting more and more diverse.
Absolutely. You've got sophisticated nation-state actors, you've got opportunistic criminals, hacktivists. Everyone is using different tactics, different tools, and it's getting harder and harder to figure out who's behind an attack.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle that keeps changing.
Yeah, and that brings us to another important point, the human element. You can have all the best technology in the world, but it won't protect you if you're clicking on phishing links or using password 123 for everything.
Yeah, it feels like we have moved beyond just telling people to be careful. It's more about understanding why people make those mistakes and how to help them make better choices.
Right. That's where this human risk management approach comes in. It's about security that's designed around how people actually behave, not how we wish they would behave.
So instead of fear-mongering and checklists, it's about understanding the psychology behind our security decisions.
Exactly. And that leads us to how the threats themselves are changing. It's not just that attacks are becoming more frequent, they're also getting more complex and harder to predict.
That example of Liminal Panda targeting those telecom companies really stuck with me. It's not just about stealing data anymore. It's about potentially disrupting entire networks.
And the fact that they were misidentified at first shows just how tough it is to figure out who's behind these attacks. It's like trying to track ghosts in the digital world.
Honestly, it can feel pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, what can we actually do to protect ourselves in this crazy world of cyber threats?
You don't need to become a cybersecurity expert overnight. It's about taking small steps consistently to improve your own security. And there's actually a lot of good news out there.
Oh, tell me more.
Hmm.
I was starting to feel a little pessimistic.
Well, for one thing, the cybersecurity industry is booming. We talked about all that investment coming in.
Yeah.
That means more smart people are working on these problems and coming up with new solutions.
So it's not just about playing defense. There's actual innovation happening.
Tons of it.
Wow.
And not just from the big companies either. There are all these smaller startups popping up with specialized solutions. They're really shaking things up.
And it sounds like companies are finally starting to take cybersecurity seriously, too.
Yeah, it's not just an IT problem hidden away in the basement anymore. It's becoming something that the people at the top are worried about, which means more resources and a bigger focus on being proactive. And that shift in mindset is huge.
Okay, I'm feeling a little better now.
Mhm.
But where does that leave us, the everyday users? What can we actually do to stay safe?
Well, the first step is staying informed. You don't have to become a hacker, but subscribe to a newsletter, follow some experts on social media, just stay up to date on what's happening.
Okay, so knowledge is power, even if it's just knowing what not to click on in my email.
Exactly. Then there's practicing good cyber hygiene. Use strong, unique passwords for all your accounts and turn on multi-factor authentication wherever you can. Those are simple habits that make a big difference.
No more using the same password for everything then. Like I've totally been guilty of that.
We've all been there. But a password manager can really help. And don't forget about those software updates. I know they can be annoying, but they often have important security fixes.
So stay informed, practice good habits.
Got it.
Anything else?
Think proactively. Don't wait for something bad to happen before you take action. Check your home network security. Look at your privacy settings on social media. A little effort goes a long way.
So don't just react to threats.
Yeah,
Try to anticipate them and make yourself a less appealing target.
exactly. And most importantly, remember that you're not alone in this deeds. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. If you see something suspicious, report it. Talk to your friends and family about online safety.
So it's like they say it takes a village to fight cybercrime, right?
I like that. And on that note, I think we've come to the end of our cybersecurity deep dive. It's been a fascinating look at this constantly changing world.
It really has. Thanks for joining us on this whirlwind tour of AI, vulnerabilities, big money, and everything in between. Remember to stay safe, stay informed, and stay ahead of the game.
Until next time.